Many blessings, my loves. Yeah, my name is Rebecca, and this is my new report for the new lunar cycle, which is coming up beginning 21st of January. So welcome, welcome. I'm going to jump into sharing some art with you actually first off today. I want to talk about the Wheel of the Year. So you should be able to see that now. So many of you know who've been following my channel for a while, I love the Wheel of the Year and I love the turnings of the wheel and how it reflects the seasons. But I also, I love to bring in a marriage between the stars, and in doing so, it weaves in this heaven and earth, and so as above, so below, right? So when I'm using the Wheel of the Year, I can really see how, the teachings of the earth and the land, are aligned with the stars. And, we only have to look at the ancient temples and, Stonehenge, all the old stone circles and the pyramids and Newgrange and all of the oldest temples in the world that we know of have alignments to these turnings of the wheel, to the solstices and the equinoxes and everything. So this wisdom, predates the Gregorian calendar. So our ancient ancestors were using this wisdom, and they would have been using the Wheel of the Year and the points, the crossover points, as well as the live sky as it is. So yeah, I'm really passionate about that and doing that now, because the Western astrology wheel that is in the mainstream really doesn't reflect the live sky right now because of the precession of the equinoxes, but I'm not going to go too deeply into that now. I'm just trusting that anybody who's in this video is already kind of on that path. If not, please get in touch and ask me more questions. I'm happy to answer them around that. But yeah, so back to the Wheel of the Year. So obviously there's 8 points. The midwinter, or the longest night, is winter solstice Yule. And then opposite that is the longest day and the shortest night, which is the summer solstice. So we'd call it Lifa and Yule. These two are obviously in opposition to each other. So this is the middle of winter, this is the middle of summer. And then on the opposite sides, you've got the spring equinox or Stara and Mabon, which is the autumn equinox. So equinox means equal day, equal night. So this is a time of balance, so this is a time where the nights and the days are the same. So at the moment where we are in the Northern Hemisphere, we're coming up to Imbolc. So Imbolc will be in this next lunar cycle that we're coming into now, which feels quite important actually, which I will dive more into that when we go into the live sky. But so Imbolc is the midpoint between Yule and Ostara. So it's basically, exactly halfway between the middle of winter and spring equinox. So, and, we often connect this to like the flame within, or that inner fire that's building every day. And it's like that inner stirring of the seeds that are awakening from their slumber. And it's like the sunlight is more each day now, because the sunlight is increasing. So each day the light is building. So the time of Imbolc, it really is around like rekindling that fire within and awakening the seeds inside of us to prepare for our ascension. Our ascension brings us all the way up into spring. So the ascension that's really starting now at Imbolc is like that awakening from our slumber and stirring. We might not be quite ready to wake up yet. So it's kind of like, I really like this winter. I'm going to nest a bit more, rest a bit more, and this is a seasonal way of living, and this is the way that I am inspired to live as well. You know, in the winter, doing more nesty things, less social, kind of more internal, dreamy kind of time. And then so those who are in the southern hemisphere now, you will be coming into Lammas, which is connected to the harvest. It's the first harvest coming into your descent. So your days will be starting to get shorter now, and yeah, the dark is coming into the winter time. So in the opposite of where we are in the north. And then of course there's people who live in the middle of the planet who are in summer like a lot, and then people who live in the north and the south, like in the the wintry places that are always in winter. Well, it's much more like the seasons are much more amplified, aren't they? So, but these, is I feel like to reflect the land which we're on now, is really powerful thing to do. And live in a more seasonal flow with nature, and the stars. So anyway, that's a little bit around the wheel of the year, and there's 8 turnings. Samhain is when we celebrate the new year, because in the Druid calendar, we believe that the ending is the beginning. And it's just like when a child is conceived, that's when life begins within. So it's like, this is like the conception, really, like the seed is going into the soil. This is what the Samhain energy represents. And it's the death of the old, like the breaking down of the old cycle to make way for the birth of the new. And so this time here, up until spring equinox, it is really, this part of the wheel is about being inside the womb. And then the spring equinox time, when we burst out of the soil, is giving birth outside of the womb. So, Ostara, Beltane, Lifa, Lammas, and Mabon, it's like the time when we are out there in the world, really being seen in all that we are. And then we get to Samhain again and we go back into the womb and a new cycle begins. So Imbolc is very womby, and it's like the awakening that happens inside the womb, the child who inside of us, or the child that is, stirring in us. It's like that new life, the new potential to grow can be stirring in us around this time. So yeah, I'm going to stop sharing that screen now. That's all I wanted to share around that. But it feels important to combine that wisdom with the wisdom of the stars, and it feels much more wholesome to me, to really invite in the awareness of the land and the awareness of the stars and how they're working together in communion, in union together. So yeah, is what I love doing. So I'm going to jump into the live sky now. So many of you know I like to use Stellarium Web to look at the sky and what's going on. So this is the sky right now. So we can see here that the sun is, this is the constellation Sagittarius. You can see the boundaries here with these lines. The sun is about to leave Sagittarius and moving into Capricorn. So by the time of the new moon, which is coming up on the 21st, the sun will have moved into Capricorn. So I'm just going to change the date now till the 21st of January. And the time of the new moon in the UK in the GMT time zone is 20:53. So I'm just going to change that. So we've got the exact time now of the new moon. If I can find it, it's gone somewhere. Here she is. Oh, right. I want to get it lined up good for you. Okay. So we're going to zoom on in. It doesn't spin around. So you can see here at the time of the new moon, 21st of January, we've got sun and moon together right at the beginning of Capricorn. So you can see here the boundary of Capricorn, this line. So you can see them, they're just on the cusp. So they've just literally entered into the gateway of Capricorn. And then Pluto, I've just written in Pluto here because Pluto's so far out, you'll have to write him in. But if I zoom right in, where has he gone? Oops, sorry, I clicked off with him and now he's disappeared again. Okay, so Pluto is right here. So you can see the sun and the moon are really close to Pluto at the time of the new moon. So this new cycle that we are going into is very Plutonian. It's very transformative, you know. So a new moon aligned with Pluto, you know, it's going to be working us quite deeply. And so Pluto is right at the end of Sagittarius at the moment. So I'm just going to click on Sag. So you can see Pluto was here. So he's right at the end. He's on the gateway as well. So this new cycle is going to be around like so much around transformation and rebirth, but to do with Capricorn and Sagittarius energy. So Pluto will be moving into Capricorn around the spring equinox time. So that's going to be felt by all of us, you know, it's huge. But also something to bring into our awareness for this cycle is Saturn is moving into Aquarius on the 17th of February. So that is going to be also felt by all of us, you know. So coming up in the next few months, we've got quite a few big shifts in the planets. So that will bring a change of energy for us to work with. So zooming on out. So we've got, this is the new moon. I want to get, if possible, I want to try and get it all in together, but it's not always that easy because it's quite fiddly, this program. I might just have to flip it around a little bit. Okay. The reason why I'm doing this, there is a reason to this mad flipping around. So what I wanted to say was, what I'm going to say is, so a new moon is a new cycle. It's the seeds, it's the birthing of a new cycle. And so by the time we get to the full moon, it's the fullness of the cycle. So the full moon will be obviously opposite to where the sun is. So moving over to, this is Cancer and Leo. So I was looking at the full moon, which will be on, I think it was the 5th of February. So we can see that the moon here is right in the middle. This is the full moon, the fullness of the cycle will be really, it's just outside of the cusp of the boundary of Cancer here. But I really feel like the energy of the full moon of this cycle is really, because it's on the cusp, you know, it's really interesting that it's going to be symbolic of both of these energies of Cancer and Leo. And then so our new moon is happening on the cusp of Sagittarius and Capricorn, you know, so there's lots of transitions happening. I feel like cusps are really powerful places that combine the energies of the signs, they work together. So, and I really see like this full moon that's coming, which will be just after Imbolc, which I was saying about this stirring within, you know, it's very fertile time, this full moon. So fertile for dreaming in intentions, for doing rituals, for planting seeds, for conception, yeah, for fertility. So yeah, this full moon will be very, very potent, I feel, with these two energies. And the Cancer energy, it really is connected to the scarab in ancient Egyptian cosmology. And the scarab is about regeneration and rebirth, and is connected to the flooding of the Nile. So I see this part of the sky as symbolic of the mother giving birth to the son, Leo. Um, and so, and the water of Cancer is like the waters breaking of birth, right? So, taking that into account for this whole cycle, it feels like, we're beginning with Pluto. So we're beginning with Pluto on the gate of Capricorn, but he's at the end of Sag. So taking all of these energies into like a combination, they're all working together. So it feels like Pluto, the lord of the underworld, or the is connected to the shadows and the darkness and power and control, but also like our own empowerment, or our own shadows around power and domination and control. So this whole cycle, it feels like Pluto is really bringing this to our attention. And when we think about power, what is power to us? And what is, transformation to us? What in ourselves is holding us hostage? What has power over us? What do we give our power away to? So as Pluto prepares to move into Capricorn, he's going to be wanting to really shift the structures and the responsibilities and the systems and the father figure and the patriarchy. There's going to be so much shifting and changing and dying actually around Capricorn as Pluto goes in there. So it feels like this lunar cycle that we are moving into now is a real invitation to really look at that in ourselves in preparation for the spring equinox. So I'm going to go over to the chart now. I think that's all I wanted to share around the live sky. Oh no, see, this always happens when I say that's all I want to share around the live sky. I always think of something else. So that's just my pattern, I guess. Look, so we've got Cygnus, Deneb. Right, what I wanted to talk about was, let's go to Imbolc. So Imbolc this year is, I think it's on the 2nd of February. So I love Imbolc, and I love Bridget Anna Brigantier, Great Britain, Great Bridget. I live on the Isles of Bridget Anna, Great Bridget. That's where I'm living, so you can see here. So, at Imbolc, well, many of you might know that at Imbolc we make Bridget's crosses, which represents the four seasons and the four turnings of the lunar cycle, the four phases of the womb, and the bleeding cycle. And so there's just so much that can be connected to Bridget in the cross. But actually, what's really interesting, how I said about how the land is really reflecting the stars, like Cygnus constellation, which is a swan, is Bridget's sacred animal, the swan, one of Bridget's sacred animals. And the Cygnus constellation is a cross. Like, oh my goodness, So synchronicities around this are amazing. So the sun is aligned to Cygnus. At the time of Imbolc, it's aligned to the cross and the swan, Bridget's cross. So, wow, that's so cool, isn't it? I get so excited about these things. So zooming in, you can see that the sun is right in the middle of Capricorn. So we're not in Aquarius yet. Like, this is the true live sky as it will be on Imbolc is in Capricorn, so it's really time to look at the actual sky and the actual alignments of how things are, and we can see, boom, we're aligned to Cygnus, which is Bridget's animal. The cross, the Cygnus cross is Bridget's cross. Like, wow, like this is really feels like alignment to me. So I will be making a Bridget's cross on Imbolc, and I will be weaving in to my cross like all my intentions of all the things that I'm going to be dreaming into growth and fertility and abundance and love this year, so that is the purpose of making a cross, that when we're doing it, we are weaving like the reeds or the cotton or whatever, the wool or whatever you want to choose to do, but to really weave in that intention for the year. And all that is stirring from that creative center of our womb and all that's growing from here. Really powerful time. Yeah, I love Imbolc. I have a real strong connection to Cygnus, especially the star Deneb, brightest star in Cygnus. There's a book called The Cygnus Mysteries, which I really love. Talks all about Cygnus and the star Deneb and how Newgrange in Ireland is aligned to this constellation. And the swans go there, and they nest there. And yeah, there's lots of stories around Bridget being connected to Ireland. She's very sacred to Ireland. And Newgrange especially, it's like a womb tomb temple. Yes. Anyway, so that is all from the live sky. Moving over to the new moon chart. So new moon 21st of January, 2053 GMT time zone. So yeah, like what do you all feel around this energy? It's good to tune into our own musings. We've got Pluto, Moon, and Sun together. Pluto right at the end of Sagittarius, and the seed, the one is the seed. So this is a seeding cycle. So I was saying about those stirrings and those seeds within. Venus and Saturn are together in Capricorn. So this is really nice, like this can, like Venus can really soften Saturn. Like all of his kind of restrictive stuff, like she comes in there with some love and softens him, so it's like a really, Venus and Saturn together is really quite a nice energy, I think. Like I think that she can go in there and they can talk about, they might be working on commitments, love, union, finances, and Venus and Saturn together, there could be a lot coming up around money, how we need to make better structures for money in our lives, how we can bring in more financial abundance, or creating structures that really support our values and the things that we love. So this is a good time, for these two to be together at the new moon, especially as during this cycle, Saturn is going to be moving into Aquarius. So at the moment, Saturn is at home in Capricorn. So the Saturn in all of us, he's very comfortable right now because he's at home and he knows the energy of Capricorn. He's like, yes, this is my home, but on the 17th of February, he's going to be moving into Aquarius, and this is a whole new world for him. So Saturn moving into Aquarius is going to be a big change in the systems and the structures and the ways that we build, So we may be finding around the time of the 17th, so coming more to the end of the cycle, that we will be shifting into a more collective consciousness around our building structures and temples and homes and yeah, like building templates for things for the community and creating new structures. And it feels really good actually, like Saturn moving into Aquarius, even though it will be a little bit uncomfortable at first because he's so comfortable in Capricorn right now, but it's like going to push us into a more collaborative, communal way of being. So yeah, so him being with Venus right now, it's like she's going to be moving into Aquarius first. So in a way, all these two having a conversation right now at the new moon, it's like they are, she's going to be moving up into Aquarius and then bringing all of what she loves and wants to create into that bowl, into that chalice, into that grail in preparation for Saturn's arrival. Um, yeah. So Mercury is over in Sagittarius. So Mercury is in square to Jupiter and Chiron and Juno, who is also in square to Pallas, Athena in Gemini. So this is going to be a little bit of a tricky one, I think, in terms of it could be a tricky one, might not. But, squares, T-squares in particular, can bring tension and challenges. It's like this. And, the catalyst at the point of the square, the T-square is Chiron, Jupiter, and Juno in Pisces. So this feels like a real conversation, Mercury, around our truths, around our spiritual, religious, philosophical beliefs. Taking it over to Jupiter, Chiron, Juno, it's about our marriages, our commitments, what we are healing in the collective, because Pisces is the ocean, it's everything. We could be feeling everything and really diving down to the core wounds, the core things that need to be healed within us. And this could be around, Jupiter and Juno is our commitment to what we believe, our marriage to that spiritual part of us. And also, I was talking about abundance and finances with Venus and Saturn together. But Jupiter and Chiron, it could be bringing wounds around expansion, wounds around growing and growth, and getting out there in the world and being seen. So, and it could be, I was sharing about the last cycle, Juno and Jupiter are husband and wife, but they had quite a difficult marriage. So it could be bringing up wounds around the mother and father figure in our lives when we were younger, or even now that we're living out, like these old cycles and wounds that we keep going back over into. Jupiter is also opposite Saras, who's in Virgo. So it's still, I was talking about this last cycle, but it's like this feeling of, oh yeah, and she is also in square to Mercury. I just saw that. Boom. Yeah, so let's bring her into this. Saras, she's the mother, she's the harvest mother, but her in Virgo, she's like really about taking care of our health and our well-being, having all the right herbs and having all the right tinctures and really nurturing. She's very mothering energy, so while I was saying about these wounds around our expansion and our growth and our old stories around our mother and father figures, like there could be like a real opportunity for healing. And the more I feel that we are communicating with Mercury, sharing, maybe expressing it to our friends or somewhere we feel safe to express these feelings and these truths and really take care of ourselves, it's going to bring, maybe there be a voice of justice, Pallas Athena in Gemini, to really, we may be seeking that feeling of justice or some kind of resolution to this past pain. So with Pluto joining with the sun and moon, it could really be there is a part of us that wants to die this cycle, part of our psyche, a part of our past, and inviting in that death in its form that it is, you know, being offered to us, we may see certain things in our lives that aren't serving slipping away. It's because it's creating space for something new to be born. You know, and this time of year in the winter for us here in the north, you know, there's lots of sickness bugs around, but I really feel like it's helping stuff to clear. You know, I had this cough and it was really on my heart and I could feel it. Like it was every time I coughed, it was like I was clearing my heart, you know, clearing my throat, clearing my voice, clearing my passages. So if we are feeling unwell at this time, you know, if we're getting viruses or bugs or whatever it is, just take it as an invitation to rest. You know, we're not quite at the spring equinox yet, you know, so really dropping back into that dream of, you know, the winter. So where we are now, if you look Capricorn, Aquarius and Pisces, you know, this is when the sun comes into Pisces, we will be coming into our spring equinox. So we've got a little while of wintering left yet, but we could be doing quite a lot internally to start laying down plans, you know. So we may be experiencing with these two together, Venus and Saturn, there may be plans for marriages, for putting down like some kind of formal written, you know, legal things. That makes me think of like, yeah, like on homes and structures, and maybe putting things down legally that they're secure. It could be a lot coming up around security, I feel, this cycle. You know, because Capricorn is connected to the father figure. I feel he is around like the elder, the wise one, the wizard, but he's very much, you know, he's how we are responsible for ourselves, how we take responsibility for our lives, and how we, you know, bring in all of the things that we need, and how we, you know, with Pluto here as well, it feels like a real transformation around this, a real transformation in our being around the father and how we father ourselves. So yeah, it feels like a really really big energy that this T square that's also going into Saras as well. It's, yeah, it feels quite big. There could be lots coming up for us to talk about this new moon. I like to like dream in as well, like this feeling that we can, with Jupiter and Chiron together, really go into that wound, like the biggest wound that we have. And with Pluto here, it's like offering it, you know, like I'm here to transform this now. You know, I can let this go. I can reinvent myself anew, you know, for the spring. Yeah. And also there is a trine. Mars is in trine. Hello, Mars. He's out of his retrograde. Woohoo, here he comes. We could be feeling a lot of drive in us now, like this Mars in Taurus, you know, could be very much wanting to make money, wanting to change the physical surroundings of where it is, you know, might be feeling like we're clearing up stuff, you know, like just getting things moving in our practical day-to-day lives. Could be a really good time to start, you know, doing daily practices that are quite physical, like yoga or dance or just walking, running, you know, however you know, that energy is for you. Mars in Taurus going forward now, it's like getting out in nature. You know, we might be feeling like we want to work on the land and start, you know, getting the beds ready for spring, and doing the cutting back of the old year, and all of this kind of stuff is really Mars in Taurus kind of energy, you know. And he's in trine, so he's trining Ceres over in Virgo, and he's also trining the new moon. So wow, you know, that energy of transformation that I was talking about, that energy of death and rebirth, is in this earth trine with Mars and Ceres. So Ceres actually is connected to Demeter, which is the corn mother, and she's the mother of Persephone. Persephone was married to Pluto. Don't you love the synchronicities? So the story is, that Persephone was taken into the underworld by Pluto, or Hades, and that's where she resides for 6 months of the year, and then 6 months of the year she's out in the upper world with her mum. And the story is that Demeter, Ceres, was grieving her daughter being in the underworld. That's why nothing grew in the winter. It's quite a sweet story, but also represents the seasons. So this grand trine, sorry, I digressed quite a lot there, but this grand trine with the earth, it's like transforming the earth, transforming the physical, transforming our finances, getting really practical around this transformation now. What do we need to do what do we need to let die, and how can we move that? So we may be feeling like I said, around some kind of physical practice could be really good to support us at this time to get things moving, to awaken that fire within us. So the Imbolc energy that's coming around the full moon, it's going to be the fullness of this cycle and on the Cancer Leo cusp. So this energy will be around birthing and moving the waters and creative energy. This is really creative time. This, to me, in the wheel is like the summer. So the new moon is happening in the winter of the wheel, and then the full moon is happening in the summer of the wheel. So when you see it that way, it's like everything is born from the womb. Every person that is here on this earth came from a womb. That's something we all have in common. That's what we're united to. So we are starting this cycle in the womb of the winter, and we get to the fullness of this cycle, we're going to be coming out into the sun. We may even start to see the first flowers coming up, like the snowdrops and the daffodils and things. So there will be this kind of explosion of life, around the full moon. But it's very premature as well, because, we're not quite at spring equinox yet, but there might be some premature explosions of life coming around the time of the full moon. So what are we dreaming in on this new moon, the new cycle? And how can we harness the energy of Pluto to help us? And how can we harness the energy of Mars and Saras to help us? To really, it feels with Venus and Saturn together, like it's around building structures, building containers, supportive containers. What is it that we want to build? What do we want to grow in us? And that could be different for all of us. Some of us may want to build an actual house. Some of us may want to build a community support group. Some of us may want to, it's up to you. What do you want to build? And this is the time to dream, to the new moon, let's make a vision board and let's, start dreaming in like these big dreams, because this is the invitation. Saturn is going to be moving into Aquarius, and it's going to be the Aquarian, building for the Aquarian way, the community, the collective. So this, new moon feels like a really great time to be tuning into that. Anything else? Jumping over to the first quarter moon. The first quarter moon is in Aries. And you know what? It's really, really fiery first quarter moon. So, because it's a conjunct the North Node and Uranus. So this is the building of the cycle. So, I was saying that these two are still together, Venus and Saturn. So we could be feeling lots of really going all the way around, building energy in us, really kind of fiery yang, like poof, explosive. Let's do this. Let's do a new way. Let's build a new home. Or let's create a new container. Let's make a new website, you know, whatever it is. We could be feeling really inspired by this first quarter moon energy, you know, and the first quarter moon is in trine to Mercury. So we may be talking, you know, in our groups in around like what we're going to build, how it's going to be. And Venus has just moved into Aquarius, you know, so she's starting to move into that chalice. She's like, woo, here we go. Not saying that it doesn't come with its challenges, you know, because Pallas and Lilith are together in Gemini, and they're in square to this stellium over in Pisces. So yeah, a big you know, I was saying about growing and expanding, and we could also be meeting in this, you know, this kind of like surge of creative energy to like build and grow and expand. We may be feeling our own blockages and our own wounds against that, you know, like we could be meeting with, you know, our menarche, or when we came into puberty. You know, this is the building energy, it's the spring. So when we're in this first quarter moon, we could feel our own woundings and our own resistance to grow. Maybe we wasn't watered and we didn't get enough sun when we was little, and so we didn't grow as well as we could have, you know. So we may be meeting with these wounds in ourselves as well. And you know, but the square T square is here to help us to shift through something, to get through some tension around this for us. And it could be, you know, how we communicate, you know, what it is we want to do, how we want to express ourselves in this world. So I'm feeling like I will leave the full moon on the Cancer Leo cusp to the next 2 weeks. I'm just going to quickly have a look for you. So on my chart, it's coming up in Cancer, but we saw in the live sky, it's really, you know, the boundaries are really interesting with Leo and Cancer. So it's embodying the energies of both, really. So, and what these two energies really symbolize is creation, creativity, rebirth, like expressing our gifts and our talents. You know, so the Cancer air energy is the mother and the energy of security and emotional well-being and support. And the energy of Leo is that sun expressing out, being born into the world. So that full moon will be at the fullness of this cycle, you know. And at the time of the full moon, Mercury will be with Pluto. So, you know, Mercury is really been a big player of this cycle, hasn't he? You know, and at the new moon, he's in T square to Jupiter and Chiron and Juno and Pallas, Athena and Saras. You know, so there's a lot being moved around Mercury at the moment, I feel. And Mercury is really, he is the voice or the messenger of the gods, you know, so it could even be like our connection to spirit, you know, through our mind, and how our mind can sometimes we can be so over analytical or over logical, and we can't tap into that messages from the divine to source, you know. So the fullness of this cycle, you know, he'll be joining with Pluto. So something in our mind has to die this cycle, a part of our brain or our ego, or you know, the way that our mind can overthink things, and we can get lost in our brain and then we can't find our way home, you know, to the higher octave of our being, our soul. You know, Pluto is also connected to our soul. So these two coming together around the full moon, you know, and Pluto opposite Lilith as well, it's freaking like so much is transforming for us, I feel, this cycle. And I just want to squeeze along to Saturn in Aquarius. So Saturn will be moving into Aquarius on the 17th of February. Sorry, I had a mind blank there. But look at this, like it's so where? And then he's adjoined with the sun, who's also moved into Aquarius. So the time that Saturn moves into Aquarius is the time that the sun moves into Aquarius. So isn't that beautiful? Like that's the 17th of February. And that will be when the moon is in its dark moon, coming up to the new moon in Aquarius, which will be on the 20th of February. So the 20th of February, new moon in Aquarius, conjunct Saturn. Here we are. A whole new world is going to be built. Yeah, so I'll see you again in a few weeks' time, and I'll do more on the full moon. But that's all for now. So yeah, wishing you a happy and beautiful new moon, and yeah, really inviting Pluto into our lives to transform and allow that which needs to die to, have its time of death. And in that time of death, there is an invitation for new life to be born. So yeah, really feeling that Pluto is very strong energy at the moment, and also Mercury. So really bringing these two planetary allies into our awareness this cycle, and tuning into them and how we can align with them so we can transform and heal and grow and expand in the spring that's coming. So yeah, that is all for now, my darlings. And I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time. All right, so much love. Mwah.